everybody, and thank you for joining us today, and welcome to this session where we will be discussing the role of AI in creating inclusive working environments with a particular focus on neurodiversity. My name is Emma D'Souza. I'm a Managing Director here at Access and Global Sponsor for DE&I, and I'm delighted to be joined for this session by Kasim Barta, Director at PBL Care and an Access customer, and Sunny Baines, Director of the Wired Differently Group and a neurodiversity advocate. Shall we start with a quick introduction? Would you like to say a few words about yourselves and why you're passionate about this topic?
Yeah, well, it's lovely to be here. I'm Sunny. I started the Wired Differently Group as part of my advocacy work. Quite a personal journey for me since it's all about my partner. So my partner's neurodivergent. And for me, it was all about seeing how I can better support her. And then it evolved into something a little bit more where it was like, okay, now how can I help other people with greater awareness and things like that?
Absolutely. So a passion that's close to your heart. Yeah. Brilliant.
Hi, yes. So I'm Kasim Barta. I'm the director and co-founder at PBL Care. We started this business 10 years ago. We've been using Access for the past 10 years as well. And for us, we've obviously seen our company grow. Mm-hmm. And as the company's grown, what we've managed to see that we have new applicants, new employees coming through, and some of our employees are neurodivergent, and we as employers, we need to cater for that and make sure we get the best out of them, and improve that creativity in the best way we can.
Okay, fantastic, brilliant. Well, thank you both for joining us today. Perhaps to get started, we could come to you, Sunny, and tell us, what is neurodiversity?
So for me, and what's I think quite widely used at the moment, neurodiversity is essentially an umbrella term. So it covers loads of different differences. I try and use the word differences instead of conditions, but it's each person has their own preference with things. Things like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, Tourette's. And that's just a few of the things that would technically count under that umbrella. I think what neurodiversity is, it's just that, it's a difference, it's not a deficiency. And I know that it needs to be framed like that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we've all got strengths, and it's important to understand our strengths and play to those strengths, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Excellent. So perhaps a question for both of you then. So in your experience, what are some of the common misconceptions? I guess you touched on it a little bit there, but some of the common misconceptions when it comes to neurodiversity?
I think it's that, for me, I see a lot of the time it's where people want to fix someone. It's not about fixing an individual or a person. It's about fixing systems that don't allow people to thrive and be their best.
I would agree with that. Yeah. So from your perspective.
Yeah, I think for obviously as an employer's point of view, I think it's getting the best out of our staff, understanding them, knowing exactly, what they want to do, how we could basically cater for that, help them achieve those goals, and set standards in place. And that, you're absolutely right. I agree. It's about creating a system in order for them to be the most creative that we can get them to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that whole aspect of culture is so important, right?
Sure. Creating
environments where people can be themselves, be authentic, where we can play to their strengths and give everybody the opportunity to shine and thrive. Okay, so you're obviously very, very passionate about creating that inclusive culture. Why do you feel it's so important for businesses to recognise and value neurodiversity?
I think firstly, the most important thing is inclusion, making sure that all your staff, everybody has the same culture. For us, it's like we belong to one big family. We're all the same. Secondly, I think it's about, again, as we touched on this point, it's about bringing out the best out of them. If they have all the systems and policies and processes in place, then what this will do is it'll allow us to get the best out of them as well. They feel that they can be open.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And coming to you then, Sunny. So neurodivergent talent can bring meaningful business benefits. As we know, teams with cognitive diversity are said to consistently outperform because different thinking styles leads to greater creativity, innovation, problem solving. Do you see this with the organisations that you're working with?
A lot. So much is actually really nice to see now, because there's been more awareness raised around the subject itself. It's making more people feel comfortable in disclosing to their employers. One of the things I've seen with some of the pharmaceutical companies that I've worked with is they've got really senior leaders in the business, sometimes board level, who were neurodivergent and never disclosed to their employer.
Right.
So we're seeing
Because
that,
of the fear of what, how that might be perceived.
I think fear, stigma, kind of a mix between the two. Does it damage my career if I come out and disclose something like this? But it does 100%. It helps with innovation, creative thinking, teams feeling like they can be themselves and bring their actual authentic self to work, which I know is said a lot, but we're starting to see more of it implemented now.
Yeah. And how do you advise businesses in terms of creating that safe space for their employees where they do feel comfortable coming forward and sharing these things?
I think it's really important that we don't just have like a top-down approach with this, because I think a lot of the time it's great having policies put in place, but we need to see actually walking the walk in that sense. When we talk about inclusion, whether it's neurodiversity or other aspects of inclusion, the more it's visible and the more we see things, the easier it is for people looking from the outside in, saying, I want to join that company and I want to stay there.
Excellent. So coming on then to talk about the role of technology in creating these inclusive cultures and workplaces that we're talking about. Question for you, Kasim. Can you share examples of how technology and specifically AI is assisting neurodivergent individuals in overcoming workplace challenges?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's certain AI tools which allow our staff members, for example, to structure their work in a better way. It allows them a lot of information to be analyzed in different ways in order for them to understand. At the same time, you have like sensory keyboards, pens, and again, they're massive benefits to us. And, we provide this for our staff members.
Fantastic. Thank you. And just staying on that train of thought then, what have been some of the positive impacts of AI on your culture, your workforce, your people?
I think it's the positivity we see. We not only is it like an employee satisfaction, like we mentioned, like Sonny mentioned, the innovation, the creativity is absolutely important, because that will be, in essence, it's best for the business then. Mm-hmm. And, that culture should run throughout.
Fantastic. Thank you. So, Sonny, you work with multiple organisations. What best practices are you seeing, and what advice would you give to business leaders today that are looking to implement AI to create more inclusive working environment?
To be fair, one of the first things I do when I go into an organisation to work with them is I'm not telling you what to do. You have a group of employees who are directly impacted by whatever changes you want to make. So it's like create a focus group, get their opinions on how we can implement things that they think will work. There's also the kind of part around not having expectations that just because we make and implement a change, it's going to work 100% of the time immediately. Sometimes it takes a little bit of tweaking and some work there. It could be small changes that we initially tried to make. Kasim touched upon one there with almost like technologies and tools that we can give to staff. And that's something that I think works really, really well. The civil service just implemented an AI tool to help everyone, but I've been seeing that it's helping a lot of neurodivergent people, specifically with analyzing data. Policy typically is quite a lot to read. So if it can break it down, it makes everybody's lives easier. But I think it's just about making small steps and listening to the people that you have working with you.
And what are some of the biggest challenges that neurodivergent individuals might encounter within the workplace that technology can help with?
I think a lot of the time there's meeting agendas that can be used on, you can create them on AI and have those distributed. Minutes, having a tool that can analyze those minutes and essentially go through piece by piece, key points, if there's something specific that needs to be remembered. Organization and communication are the two biggest ones I've seen. Things like Trello, a platform online where you can use to organize your time and you can have multiple boards open.
Right, okay. Makes a big difference to people,
yeah.
Right?
Again, I've seen a lot of these tools, and some of these tools basically allow our staff, like for example, there's one which helps them with the calendars. So when they have meetings and invites, and instead of them feeling overwhelmed, it kind of structures it out. So the next week, for example, they know what the calendar's like, the week after. And, I think it's so important that if there's structure there and it's, there's a tool we could use, and that tool's for everyone to use. AI is for everyone, and I think it'll just get the best out of people.
Okay, fantastic. And when you're implementing these tools, what sort of feedback are you getting from the individuals that are using them?
So the feedback we've received is very positive. So we have our supervisions, appraisals, and with our feedback, one of our feedback is about, has AI helped you with your neurodiversification and stuff? And we always get positive feedback about that. And I think it's been really good.
Okay, excellent.
I think the one thing just to touch on that I've seen as well is a lot of the time when you're implementing AI tools, the data you put in is extrapolated out. So it's really important that you have lived experience in that data input phase so that you don't extrapolate potential bias against a particular group of people as well.
Also, just touching on that, AI is a tool which understands you. So the more you use it, the more better it understands you as well. So it becomes really beneficial.
Kasim, can you share some specific examples of how technology and particularly AI is helping neurodivergent individuals in your workplace?
Yes, so we basically have sensory rooms, which basically allows our staff to go there. There's noise cancellation, sensory music, and basically this platform allows them to get the best creativity out of them. Some other stuff that we do, for example, is provide communication AI. So what this basically means, when there's a lot of information and a lot of complex information, this breaks it down, whether that could be visual, in audio formats. So it makes it a lot easier for our staff to understand.
Okay, fantastic. And what sort of feedback are you getting from your staff?
So the feedback's been absolutely positive. It's definitely, and I know Sonny basically mentioned this point earlier as well about retentions. It's definitely helped our retention levels. Staff are a lot more motivated. They're a lot more satisfied, and it just brings an inclusive culture and environment in our organisation.
Which is fantastic to hear. Thank you. So we've talked about how AI can help create an inclusive environment for employees within the organisation. Let's think a little bit about recruitment and talent attraction. How do you see AI being able to help with neurodiversity as candidates are on their way into a business, or as you described before with your partner, people that are looking for new opportunities?
So I think the whole talent management system and process is starting to evolve and change. We're starting to see more employers looking at inclusive job descriptions. That might be with the way it's structured or having like an alternative format of it. I think that's one of the key things from an external candidate point of view. That's the first touch point you have with the business. So it's like, that's really important and valuable. Through the onboarding process, making sure that all candidates are aware you can ask for accommodations at any point. It's not just when you're working for an employer. If you need something, ask for it. And if they feel like they're able to do that, you'll have a lot more people saying, okay, this is a company that I can see myself working for longer term as well, which, to be honest with you, is a bit of a problem in the workforce at the moment. A lot of the time, companies will have the attraction part down really well, and retention becomes a problem because they can't maintain essentially the accommodations or adjustments or culture over a prolonged period of time.
Which is a miss for the organisation, right? Because we want that diversity of thought. We want people that can help us solve the problems that, we're trying to solve for our customers. We want that creativity and innovation. So that's an area then that you think employers really need to double down on, is making sure that the culture is right for everybody to thrive.
I think I saw a McKinsey report not long ago when companies have implemented longer term neuro-inclusion practices, the retention rate goes up 92%.
Wow.
So it impacts businesses long run a lot, and it can have a huge benefit on the company.
Okay, excellent. And Kasim, are you doing anything within your organisation to leverage AI to help with neurodiversity through the recruitment process?
Yeah, so basically our systems and tools, the way they work is when we have applicants coming in, we even with within our teams, our HR teams, it kind of simplifies the applications as well. So instead of them being overwhelmed with like 100 applications, because we get applicants coming on a daily basis, like 20 to 30, and it can get really overwhelming. So we have these AI tools, especially within our HR team as well, and it allows to break it down. So it kind of gives you the criteria of what we're looking for. So it's really helped us in those sort of ways as well.
Excellent. So look, we talked about how we can leverage AI to help create an inclusive working environment, and the long-term aspect of that is obviously really important. We've talked a little bit around recruitment. What's on the horizon for the next 5 years? Where do you see AI helping us on this journey as we all move forward?
I I think AI has changed so much in the last year. A lot of the platforms and tools you can use now will have like memory. So like you said, when you were talking about it remembers you and it remembers how you think and what kind of answers would benefit you the most. It's hard. 5 years' time, it could completely transform recruitment, retention, attraction. The whole employee experience, I think, will be impacted.
I think, yeah, again, I totally agree. I think with AI, it's just, I think the point that you touched on, the employee retention, satisfaction, it's really helped with that. And again, AI is a tool. It could be used by anyone, everyone. And it's just to make your life a lot more easy. It just structures things, organizes stuff. Yeah, I use it myself. So, yeah.
We all benefit from it, don't we? Yes. Okay, fantastic. Well, look, I think some of the takeaways from my perspective from today's session. So neurodiversity is individual. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses we talked about before, and we want to embrace that and create environments as business leaders where people can thrive and be the best version of themselves. From a business value perspective, we recognise that neurodiversity brings significant organisational benefits through that diverse thinking, creativity, problem solving. We've learned that AI, I think, can be a great support tool. You've given us some fantastic examples there of where you're using AI to help create an inclusive environment. And also, of course, from a recruitment perspective as well. So to make sure that we are creating an environment that is welcoming to new candidates to come into our organisations, and that we're using the tools to help introduce new people into our organisations from diverse backgrounds. But then, that longer term plan, as you described, is really important for us all as well. So thank you very much, Kasim. Thank you, Sunny, for joining us today. As a business leader here at Access and DE&I champion, it's really important to me that we create a culture where people can be themselves, where they can thrive, they have the opportunity to develop and grow. So your insights have been really, really helpful for me today. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit our website.